Quick video to illustrate why I do think everybody should own a prime like the 50-1.8 or the 35-1.8 or the 42-8 sometime during their photographic journey. If you're fairly new to DSLRs, or even if you're not, probably somebody at some point has said to you, "Oh, do you have the 50-1.8? You gotta get the 50-1.8. Let's talk for just a minute on one of the reasons why it is pretty nifty to own something like the 50-1.8. Let's start with the T4i. The kit lens doesn't actually matter if you have the 18-55 or the 18-135. They both function in very similar respect in this demonstration that we're about to do. And what I suggest you do is grab it, turn it on, put it on AV mode, which is your aperture priority. Rotate your lens to 18. Little markings on the dial will show you that you're at 18. And rotate the little command dial all the way to the left until that aperture number on the back stops moving. It should stop at 3.5. That is your maximum aperture when you're at 18. These numbers on the screen behind me represent different apertures. So let's stop with the camera for a second and talk just about these. So these are our apertures, and it's just kind of a general range. What you need to know about them is we've talked a little bit about them affecting depth of field, the area that's in focus. We're not even going to talk about that at all in this quick video. We're just going to talk about the amount of light that they let in at these different numbers. So moving from the left to the right, the bigger the number, the less amount of light is let through the lens, that opening size. You got half of the amount of light from one to the other. So 5.6 lets in half of the amount of light that f4 lets in. f4 lets in half of the amount of light that 2.8 lets in. If you go in the other direction, you're doubling the amount of light. So f4 lets in twice as much light. If you zoom your lens, and you go ahead and do this, zoom your lens almost to 55, and do a little half press, you'll notice that even though a minute ago you had that aperture set on 3.5, it's now gone all the way up to 5.6. A function of this lens is as you zoom, your maximum aperture decreases. So your maximum aperture you have available to you now is 5.6. If you back off a little bit, somewhere between about halfway between 35 and 55, which is probably 45, your maximum aperture is 5. But up around 50, it's 5.6. So that's letting in a lot less light. Remember, 3.5 is somewhere around this general range. So we're talking about 2 times the amount of light that is being not let in through the sensor. I said that in kind of a weird way, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Now, let's pretend, I have a 50-1.4 here. Let's pretend it's a 1.8. I won't go lower than 1.8. And it is a prime lens. That means it's fixed. It doesn't zoom. And at 50, I can now, rotating my dial, command dial, I can go all the way to 1.8. 1.8. That is a pretty significant amount of difference between the kit lens and the prime lens. And now, because this is actually the 1.4, I can go even further, and you can see that that is 1, 2, 3, 4 times the amount of light that I can let in with this lens versus this lens at the same focal length. Now, it might start to say to you, oh, now I can start to see why people pay a lot of money for those wide aperture lenses. Now, your depth of field down there is very narrow, but I said we weren't going to talk about this in this video, so we're not. We're just talking about the amount of light. I do think, as I said, that you should own a prime lens. On the Canon side, the 50-1.8 is a very cheap entry to the prime and gives you the 1.8. You know, it's about $100, give or take 10. On the Nikon side, you have a 50. You also have a 35, which is a little bit more of a versatile lens. The 50 on the 50 on either a Nikon or a Canon entry-level DSLR with that crop sensor is a little bit long. And it's really easy for you to figure out if that's going to work for you or not by putting the kit lens on and walk around with it at 50 for a while, looking through, you know, taking pictures of your kids, your family, your potted plant, and just notice how far you have to back up to get the perspective you want. It's a very nice focal length. It makes people look very good. It's a nice focal length. So that's good. But inside and for larger groups and things of that sort, it can be kind of narrow. That's why the 35-1.8 on the Nikon side is really nice. And on the Canon side, you now have the 40. It's kind of up to you what you get. You're trading that, on the Canon side, you're trading that 40 versus the 50. You're a little bit more of a versatile lens, but it lets in a little bit less light. It's tiny. I'm not sure where mine is at the moment. It's so small I lose it from time to time. But again, you are losing some light, and it's a little bit more money, not a lot. So just quick thoughts on one aspect of why you should have a prime lens. If you have any questions about prime lenses, apertures, shutter speeds, camera stuff, leave a comment down below or come over and find me on the Facebook page. There is a small giveaway going right now, and there's better ones coming. I'm excited. I heard from somebody, and stuff is on its way. So make sure you follow over on the Facebook page, because that is where it's going to be announced first. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great evening.